Hello class, this week we will continue working with Bootstrap CSS. Um, if you guys notice, I'm on my domain name, fluenceweb.com. And you guys see, if you guys go to your domain names, all we have is this boring white page that just lists our folder structure so far. So this week we're going to actually create a small home page to fill out this page. We're going to have two options for this project. One option is to base it off a professional, almost like portfolio about you. Since we already did an about me that's very personal, your hobbies, favorite foods, and your schedule, I don't want it to be a replica of your about me. I would like it to be something different. So more on a professional level, so we could focus on your skills, maybe your career, your certificates that you have, your degree that you're going for, that you're pursuing. And option two is to base it on a business, right? So whether it's a hobby or a business or a family business, or maybe just something that you're doing, that's going to be another option. For example, I have some people that are into photography, so they'll base this homepage on photography. Or other people, they might be into computer repair, so they'll just base it off PC repair. So anything that just gives it more of a look and feel. I always like playing with real data. That way it's not us. We're just making up dummy data with lorem ipsum all the time. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to the Get Bootstrap website. And to speed things up today, we will be actually using one of their examples. This will save us a lot of time, and we don't have to code everything from scratch. So we're going to head over to examples. And as you notice here, they've already built out some examples that we could kind of use just to get started a lot quicker. So we're actually going to use the carousel. All right. So we're going to click carousel, and then I'm going to right click on the page, and I'm going to select view page source. This is going to show us all the code. I'm going to go ahead and select all, and I'm going to open up Atom, and we're going to have a new file, and we're going to paste it in there. Right, so we have all that source code in there. Now we want to make sure we save it as index.html, right? Because we want to replace that website, that blank page. We're going to save it as index.html, and this will make it as our home page. All right, so we're going to save and preview this really quick. I'm going to head over to open up this. We're going to open with, and this is what we have. And as you guys notice, it doesn't look like what we were expecting. We were expecting to get this, and it seems like we're missing some styling here. So the first thing you want to do when you work with any template is check your links, making sure everything is there. So right off the bat, we see that we have a relative link here for Bootstrap Core CSS. So this actually, we need to point it over to the Bootstrap CSS, just like in our previous project. So I'm going to replace that link, save it. There we go. Now we have that working. Next, let's see what other links we have. We have some icon links here for like Apple icons and your favorite icon. We were just going to ignore those for right now, as these won't be required, or you won't be graded on them for this project. And custom styles for this template. Here we have another relative link. So I'm actually going to find out what that carousel.css is. So we go back to our code. And here it is. And I'm actually going to, if we click on it, it's going to give us that file. So I'm going to copy everything in that file, all that custom CSS for that template. I'm going to open up a new file in Atom. I'm going to paste that code in. File, save as, carousel.css. I'm going to go ahead and save it. All right, so now this, whatever CSS it's looking for in that file, we're going to have it locally as well. Perfect. Lastly, we want to put in our JavaScript code. So I'm going to, just like in our previous project, we're going to bring in our JavaScript so that all the JavaScript is working. I'm going to paste it in. Actually, I pasted one too many. I don't need that last one. There we go. Perfect. And again, we find all this information from the Bootstrap website. If we go back, home, get started, we have the CSS link here, and we have the JavaScript code here. Perfect. So let's take a look at the page really quick. Now you guys are going to get a lot of flexibility in this project to make it look how you want it to look, to match the colors and the styling. But there's going to be certain things that you will be graded on, so make sure you pay attention to those details. And always just try to make it look as best as you can, and I'm going to be grading heavily on the responsiveness of it. So for my style of page, I'm going to be working with my demo company that I'm using for this class, which is Fluence Marketing. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the navigation bar. So let's go ahead and start customizing the navigation bar. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You could leave it as dark. I'm going to go ahead and just make it match whatever my style is going to be. So my current branding for Fluence, if you guys have probably seen the YouTube videos, you know, so I have this blue branding going on. So I'm going to try to replicate as much as that, or build something according to it. So first things first, we're going to start with the navigation, and I'm going to scroll down to navigation. As you guys can see, all the code is already here. So now we just got to customize, put in the right classes we want. So first I'm going to go with background light, because I'm going to go with a light theme, and nav bar light. What that will do is that will change my navigation to the lighter navigation bar, and it will fix the fonts as well. And let's see, nav bar expand, nav bar is fine. And instead of a brand name, we are gonna put in an image. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this brand name, and I am actually going to put in an image, and this is going to be in my images folder, and it's going to be nav bar brand logo. So again, you're going to have to create a small logo or upload an image and then upload it to your server. Let's preview what we have so far. Refresh. As you guys can see, I have my logo. The nav bar is now the light navigation bar. And For my logo and the recommended logo, you could make it pretty much any width, but I would keep it around 50 pixels for the height. I believe this one's around like 250 wide times 50 pixels height. That way it still keeps that nice thin navigation bar. Alright, so you guys notice a few lines of code, an image, and it's already starting to look pretty good. I'm also going to change the title up here where it says Carousel Template. Influence. Again, this is just going to be an example for you guys to follow me. Feel free to base it off either yourselves or a company that you want. Now let's see what we have. Switch the title up here, Fluence, and for this project we're going to be required to have minimum of 5 links. So I'm going to scroll down and find my links. Alright, I have my home here, and then I have link, and then I have a disabled link. So this link I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it. So my first link, I'm going to call it services. So I'll have home and then services. For the hyperlink reference, I'm going to call it services as well. We're going to be adding these IDs later on in the project to the sections we wanted to scroll down to. This new one, we will do about us. And I'm just going to call the ID for this about. I'm going to add one more. And I'm going to call this our skills. Then we're just going to do skills for the ID. And finally, actually I'm going to remove this disabled. Well, you could just remove the disabled class. And this is going to be contact for the hyperlink reference. Contact us. And you can remove this accessibility. Right, so we have home, services, about us, our skills, contact us. I'm going to add something after our skills. I'm going to add one more. I'm probably going to end up doing 6. But you need at least, you could do as many as you want, but you need at least 5. This is going to be testimonials. Contact us. Perfect. Save that. Take a look. Beautiful. So home, services, about us, our skills, contact us. I like the button on the right side. I don't see the need for the form. So here I'm gonna go ahead and delete that input. And I'm also going to delete the form tags. So button, outline success. And I'm actually going to switch this to get a quote. Get a quote, that's going to switch it to get a quote. And rather than primary, then success, I'm going to switch it over to primary because it matches my theme color a little more. Perfect. Good. Get a quote and it's blue. So you guys notice that with a few lines of code, this is already starting to look pretty good. So this home is very close to the logo. So on my unordered list class on my navigation bar, I'm gonna do some margin left. That way it's not too close to the logo. And I'm also gonna do MX Auto on it. So it already has margin right auto. So for margin left, -5, that should give it pretty good separation next to the logo. And quick. And now you notice we have that nice padding on the left hand side, so it's not right next to the logo. Now you can decide if you want to keep your navigation to be fluid and it stretches all the way across, but I don't have that many links, so I'm actually going to put this inside a container. That way it's just boxed in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the contents of the navigation bar. So we don't want to put the whole navigation bar in a container, just the contents. So I'm going to put a container inside the navigation bar. I'm going to make a comment here. And I'm just going to make container for navigation bar contents. And then we'll add our container. And right inside the navigation closing tag, I'm going to go ahead and put my closing div. And when we preview now, perfect. You notice it kind of brought everything towards the middle. And now it just looks a little more spaced out, a little better. Now let's move on to our slider. So here we notice we have this really nice carousel slider that spins around. The template comes with 3 slides. You're not required to have all 3 of them, but if you want to keep all 3 of them, that's fine. So let's go ahead and modify this and start adding some data to it. I'm going to start off by going to my slider. And you notice in an ordered list, we have 0, 1, 2. So these are the slides. So I'm actually going to comment this third one out. I'm only going to do 2 for this demo. That way the video doesn't get too long. And we have your carousel inner. And inside the carousel, we have the container. And then we have the caption left. And here's where we have the data. Obviously your header 1 and your paragraph. So for my header 1, I'm going to just stop saying top builder. So here we're just going to put in some data that makes sense. And actually, we build beautiful creative websites. For my first one for this button, I'm going to have schedule a consultation. And I'm going to do another button actually. I'm just going to copy this one. But instead of just making it look the same, I'm going to make button outline primary. That way they look a little different. I'm going to make this one learn more. Save that. So we have top website builder. We have a paragraph and 2 buttons inside that container. I'm gonna move on to my next slider. And again, just fill in all the data. Make sure you switch it all up. I do not want to see any of the sample data that already came with the template. So get creative with it. Perfect. And then this one we are actually going to comment out because I'm only going to do 2. And this one's going to end right here. Actually, inside this div. Perfect. We're going to save that. Let me preview. Nice. Schedule consultation, learn more. And then I'm going to bring some images in. So instead of having these SVG files, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to bring in some images. It's going to be image, source, images, slider. Copy that. And I'm gonna again replace it with the gray placeholders. I'll make this one background. So again, you're gonna have to find some images to add to your slider or your carousel. Fresh. Nice. Perfect. Now you notice that my text is white on a white background. Probably not going to stand out anymore. So let's go ahead and switch that. So depending on your slider, you're going to have to edit your text accordingly. Atom active. Container. So for the caption, text left, and then we're going to go text dark. And I'm also going to add some margin to the bottom of 3. I'm going to copy those classes, and I'm going to add them to my other carousel caption. There we go. Now for this slider, what I'm also going to do is the H1s, I'm going to add a class to them. And I'm going to switch them up a little. I'm going to do the display 4. Give me a nice bigger but thinner text. I'm going to go text uppercase as well. So I'm going to take this class, I'm going to copy it to the other slider as well. The H1 here. And for the paragraphs, we're also going to do another class. We're going to call it class lead. This is again from our previous assignment from the Jumbotron. And I just like that look a little better. But it's up to you whichever one you want to keep. Button primary large. Okay. Let's take a look and see how those look. Nice. So now we have our dark text. You notice we have our 2 buttons. Creative graphics. Perfect. So we have our slider. Let's go ahead and move on to our next section, which is going to be this services section. So let's take a look at how that looks. And I'm going to look for it, and it's going to be columns of text below the carousel. Here we are. So for this one, we have a 3-column layout. I'm going to switch it up a bit. So I'm actually going to make it a 4-column layout. So you guys notice we have 1 column here, and then another one, and then the third one, right? So column large 4, 4, and 4. So 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So all of these equal 12. So if I want to add one more column, add a column, and actually I'm going to make this column large 3. Now if we have 3, 4, 4, 4, that doesn't add up to 12, right? That adds up to 17. So we have to make, for it to render correctly, we have to make the rest of them 3 as well. There we go. 3, 6, 9, 12. So now this is perfect. We have everything spaced out, and I'm going to do something a little different for this layout. I'm going to go with a little more modern look. So for my heading, I'm going to go with my class display. Oops. Display 3. I'm going to go text left on this, and text uppercase. A little bit of margin top as well. What we do. And just to make it a little different, I'm actually going to break these up. That way they're all separate. And right now when we preview, you guys will kind of see how it looks. So I have that there. Now also, this div, the container marketing, I'm going to give it an ID. ID equals services, right? So what this will do is that when they click on services on my navigation bar, right, we had referenced the ID services here, the page will scroll down to services. And we're going to continue doing the same thing for the rest of the links. So ID services, I have an H1, and I'm going to go ahead and fill up the rest of this data. So we're going to do my first service. It's going to be web design, and we'll do a short description. And then the next one is going to be graphics. Third one is going to be search engine optimization. And again, make sure you guys change the description, get creative with them. Imagine you are building this for a client. Instead of button secondary, I'm going to go button outline primary. It matches my theme color better. So I'm going to switch that out for all of them. Perfect. Let's preview and see how that looks. So we have this 3-column layout. It should be now be a 4-column layout. There we go. Perfect. And we're going to also just center some of the stuff as well. I'm going to text center everything. So let's go ahead and text center everything. So this H2, class text center. I'm also, since it's the headings, I'm going to add some padding. Let's go with P3. So I'm going to copy this class and add it to my other H2s. Alright, and for the paragraph and the buttons, we also want those centered. So we're just going to go text center. We'll add the text center class. Center the button as well. Center that. And last one. Perfect. Now let's take a look at how. Perfect. So now we have everything centered here except for these placeholders. Now instead of looking for images and selecting images for these, we're gonna use icons. Icons are something I like using a lot. They come in very handy when it really comes to especially minimalistic, simplistic design. So let's go ahead over to Bootstrap. Now, Bootstrap used to actually have the icons integrated in its previous versions, but now they've just sent you directly to the providers. So if you type icons in the documentation, right, they have their preferred and other options. So there's a ton of companies that have icons. My favorite one, and probably the most popular one these days, is going to be Font Awesome. So if we click on Font Awesome, it's going to take you to the Font Awesome website. And here, what we're going to do is we're just going to start it for free. So we're just going to sign up. Now that they have a paid version, they kind of make you create an account to access or to get your icons link. So all you need to do is enter in your email. They're going to send you an account verification email, and then you're going to be able to log in with your account and password. So once you register, and let's say it's going to take you to the start of first. Right, so eventually it's going to give you just a script code to use. It's going to look similar to this one. And all we're going to do is just copy that code, and we're just going to paste it into your file. So I'm going to paste it right under my CSS. I'm going to make a comment for it. I'm going to call it Font Awesome Icons. And simply copy the code and you're set. So the way Font Awesome works, if you go to their icons page, it's just a huge collection of icons. Like I've said, they've expanded over the years, and now they have all these pro and paid icons, and we're just going to stick to the free ones. So just select free, and we're going to pick 3 icons for my services. So I have web design, graphics, and SEO. So for web design, I'm probably just going to do like a monitor. There we go. So this desktop monitor works just fine. You click on the icon, and all we got to do is copy this code up here. Ideally, you'll eventually memorize the code. It's just and it's a class of FAS, and every icon will start with FA dash something. So I'm just going to copy that, and instead of those placeholders, I'm going to scroll down to my services. You're going to put in the icon. Right, so right under column LG3, you're going to have your icon shortcode. You're going to save, And when we refresh, we notice we have the icon. Now it's a little tiny icon, but this is what's great about these icons, that they're almost like text. We're able to increase the size and change the colors almost as if they were just like a font, which is great, especially with sizes and icons, you don't have to deal with them getting pixelated or getting blurry on the screen. So if we go over to their documentation, and here you'll have some information on the basic use. And we're gonna go over to additional styling options, and we're just gonna go to sizing icons. And here it pretty much tells us, hey, we have these classes for different sizes of icons. And all it is FA-XS, SM, LG, 2X, 3X, 5X, 7, and 10X. So I'm going to do FA7X for my icon. So FA-7X. So when we add that class, if we go back to my page and refresh, you notice it makes the icon way bigger. And that size is perfect right there. So I'm going to go ahead and select 3 more icons for graphics and SEO and do the same thing. So again, icons. Select free. And for graphics, I'm going to do like painting. We're gonna go with the palette. Copy it. Again, remove the placeholder. And then paste the new icon. And then I just need one more for SEO. I'm gonna go with maybe like a search. Select the free ones, and I like this search location. Copy. Again, go back to our code. Delete the placeholder, and then we're going to add that other class, the FA7X, so that we make these big. There we go. If we preview, we should have 3 large icons. Nice. And so now all we have to do is go ahead and center these icons. I'm also going to add some styling and change the color on them. So let's go back to Atom. And to center these icons, we are going to go ahead and take advantage of our flex box. So we're just going to add a class dflex and then justify content center. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that over to each icon. And I'm also going to add a style. And I'm going to change the color to that blue that I've been using with my logo. So style color. And it happens to be code 0 C5389. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that to each icon as well. Perfect. Lastly, to my services, the about design, graphics, and SEO, I'm going to add some padding. Just P4, that way they just have more room. A little more spaced out, and the text is not running into each other section. P4. There we go. Perfect. So got my blue icons, more padding on the colors, what we do, and let's move on to the next section. This section is going to be our About Us section. So for the About section, we're going to go ahead and first thing we're going to do actually is we're going to add the anchor tag. So we're going to add ID equals about, because that's what we had named our link. Now you guys noticed I'm adding it to this horizontal row here. I could also add it to the div, but I always like to add my anchor tags, my anchor links, a little bit above the content. That way when they click the link and the page scrolls down, it doesn't cut off the content, and you're able to just present it a little better. It's not always possible. There are other workarounds for it, but usually if you put it just a little bit above the content, it's going to work great. So ID, it's going to be about, and right here we have a column of 7 and a column of 5. I'm actually going to keep this section pretty simple. I'm just going to go 50-50 on it. So we're going to do column medium 6, and it has a header 2 and a paragraph. I'm going to actually bring the same styling that I've used for the services with the display 3. So I'm going to bring in a heading 1 and a small paragraph. And display 3, text uppercase. And again, I'm kind of using the same style of breaking up the heading and applying the class lead to my paragraph there. Now this has a placeholder. I'm going to go ahead and remove the placeholder. And I'm going to just add an image there. My own image. And it's going to be images about us.jpg. I'm going to give this a class. Oops. And I'm just going to call it rounded large. This will give it a nice little rounded edge on that image. Let's see how that looks. Perfect. So we copied pretty much the same H1 style, added some paragraph text, brought in an image with a little border radius. And the next section is going to be our skills. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go down to that section. And we have our skills here. And again, at the horizontal divider there, I'm going to add an ID for skills. And for this one, we're going to do the same thing, just 2 columns. So we're going to make this 6, and I'm going to make this other one 6 as well. And I'm actually going to switch these around. I'm going to remove that placeholder. And I'm going to add my heading and my paragraph, but that's going to stay towards the right side now. And again, following the same concept, display 3, text uppercase. In this case, we're pushing the text to the right. And inside this other column, I'm going to delete that. And we're actually going to bring in some progress bars. Now these progress bars, again, you could find them in the documentation. And all I did is just a different way to display information. All right. So the way it works is you have the progress bar. You could give it a style to give it a different height. I made mine a little thicker, so I made him height 35 pixels. And depending on the background color you give them, you could switch the background color. And the width, wherever you want that progress bar, you could set it here, 95, and the value 95. And over here, if you write anything in between these divs, it writes it inside the progress bar. So now I'm also going to go ahead and remove these order classes. What these do is that it changes the order of the columns depending on the layout, but I'm not sure how I want them to look yet. So just to make sure everything displays correctly, I'm going to go ahead and delete those. Let's take a look, refresh. There we go. So we have our nice progress bars, just a little visual representation of our skills, and we have our skills pushed to the right. So slowly this website's coming along. What we do, why choose us, our skills, and our next section is testimonials. Let's go ahead and take a look at that section. Keep the divider, and again we're going to add the ID for our menu link. All right. For testimonials, we are going to do something pretty simple again. So we have a column median 7, column median 5. That should work just fine. I'm going to go ahead and remove this sample data. And I'm going to bring in an H level 1 heading. Similar to what we've been doing, display 3, text uppercase, text right, don't take our word for it, and then we're going to do a little muted text just through a span class here. And on the next column, column medium 5, we're going to remove that placeholder image, and we are going to bring in an accordion card. I'm going to paste it in. So this accordion, all it is just a collapsible widget here, and I'm just using it to display testimonials. So I just made up some names, a company, and then I just made up a testimonial. Let me preview, see how that looks. Perfect. So as you guys could see, you could open it. So, and then we have a little review in there. Now let me show you guys. If we go to the Bootstrap website, we go to documentation. If you go to components, you'll have the progress bars. If you could click progress, here's where I got the code for the progress bars. right? So it gives you the height option, the labels, the different colors, and you could also, they have different striped or the multiple bars option as well. And for the collapsible, it's going to be this accordion example right here. So you just take this code and you go ahead and modify it, which is this. It's exactly what I have here. And I've already added some text to it. Perfect. And for our last section, it's just going to be our contact section. So before our container div, at the end of the featurettes, I'm going to add another comment. And it's going to be contact section. And for this, we're just going to do another 50-50. Or a combination, pretty close. So I'm going to have a row and a column. And we're going to make it MD6. And inside this column, we're going to add some contact information. And we're just going to follow the same structure we've been following with our headings. Again, you could pick any heading you want, but once you pick one, try to stick to it. That way you don't have too many different variations. So for this section, I went ahead and pasted this, which is just my H1, my same heading, display 3, text left, text uppercase, and it just says get in touch. A small paragraph. I'm gonna have this address tag with Fluence Marketing, Fresno, California, and phone number, and a mail to link to my email. So make sure you guys include your email, the one you created for your previous assignment. And that will kind of be one section. And I'm going to have another section. I have one too many divs in here. Column, and for this column I'm actually just going to bring in the same form that we worked on from our previous project. And the only modification I made to the form, which is going to be a requirement for this assignment, is we added a select field with a little drop down for selecting options. And that's going to be right here. So I'm going to go ahead and preview this and see how it looks. I'll take our word for it. Get in touch. I also changed the border on the form. And here's a little drop down. And again, we could find all this on the form documentation. Change the button color to match. And lastly, the most important thing that you guys will be heavily graded on for this assignment is going through and going, especially for the mobile responsive side, responsiveness. I'm going to bring my screen back. Is making sure everything's displaying correctly. Right, so making sure your menu's working, your navigation links are working, they're scrolling down to each section, and especially for the responsiveness, making sure that stuff is displaying correctly. Right, so just make sure you go through, especially the smaller breakpoints, and just make sure all the stuff is displaying correctly. It's not squished. Right, so little things like this email is very close to that form. So I'm going to go back to that the first column. And maybe I'm going to add some padding on the bottom of 4. All right, so when we refresh, it gives me that nice padding. The same thing here. Here it is. Don't take our word for it. Again, a little padding bottom 4. So create a little more separation there. Our skills is fine. This is rendering fine. And our sliders are fine as well. So again, make sure your anchor links work. About us, our skills, testimonials, and contact us. So you guys notice in less than an hour, we were able to pretty much put together a pretty decent homepage here. I look forward to seeing you guys' designs.